Good evening, my brothers and sisters, my friends, my family, my frenemies. It's your girl, Dr. Shonna, and I am here live because, of course, I got something to say. Oh my God, you guys don't even know. I spent the last day just laughing at what the hell am seeing going on here. I'm laughing, but not because it's funny. I'm laughing because I don't believe how easily people can fool us, trick us, persuade us, and offer us nothing in return. And our community keeps getting screwed over and over and over again. So that's why I am here to talk about it. But before we get started, let me just go ahead and have some acknowledgments here, get some slight housekeeping. We're going to keep it pushing. First and foremost, I acknowledge everyone tonight. I want to say hello and a fat shout out to all my community members and all my moderators. I love every last one of you guys. Peace and blessings to every last one of you guys. To all my family members, my community members that joined this channel, I owe you guys all a video. I'll be doing my social media influencer video for you guys, that training. I owe my relationship community members another training video. I will be putting another one up. And as far as my business community members, y'all already know I keep y'all laced with awesome information. I'll be coming on to give you guys some powerful information because we have to really start changing our thinking. Because in this world, in this capitalistic society, money rules and everything else is just words. And that's unfortunate, but that is the truth. So y'all know why I'm here. To all my other members of the community, I love you guys for your support. And listen, guys, it costs you absolutely nothing to like the video or hit the thumbs down button. Either way, we create algorithm for YouTube. I know we got some haters in here, and that's okay. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can receive the notifications when I am going live. And most importantly, share the information. I know you guys have been sharing the videos and I appreciate it because people are clipping them. They're hitting me up in my boxes. They're tagging me. So I know you guys are doing what you do best. And I want to thank you for that. To my moderators, you already know everyone gets to have their opinion just as long as it is respectful. When their opinions are not respectful, we block, ban, and delete them. To my moderator, my community member, DJ Queen Champion, assalamu alaikum to you too, sister. Peace and blessings and grand rising. I love every last one of you guys. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the discussion. Now, I wasn't going to talk about Joe Biden. I was going to give the sensitive people a break. And then I said, nah, I ain't going to give them a break because they don't give me a break with their foolishness. So I ain't going to give them a break with my intelligence. So I decided I was going to come on anyway to talk about Joe Biden and Cardi B. Now, I watched what other people were talking about, and they all provided some good information. If you go there, you'll see the different information that people provided, the different receipts that they were dropping, and I appreciate everybody. My spin is going to be just a little bit different, but at the end of the day, all of our videos together is to further the discussion and to raise awareness as to what is happening. So to tell you the truth, I don't care who says it. It needs to be said and people need to hear it. And I know everyone hears things differently, right? So today is my voice. It is my time to talk about it. And you guys can go ahead and get your pen and paper because we're going to have to really have a critical conversation. First of all, for those of you guys who don't know, because I know some people just don't know, let me go ahead and inform you, just in case you don't know. And to everybody else who knows, just listen along and just go for the ride. Now, you know that Cardi B apparently interviewed Joe Biden. And this has been the topic over the last 24 hours. Everyone has been talking about this interview. Now, of course, I went on to gain some information about this interview and to see what Joe Biden, or Joe the Bigot Biden, was talking about. And he was talking about absolutely nothing. And that's what Joe does. You know, Joe talks about absolutely nothing. He will skate around so many items. He's slippery. He's a slippery, sly little devil. Skates around everything. And just because he's talking to Cardi B, people are listening. Now, the problem that I have with this is not because he wants to have a conversation with Cardi B. That is a problem, but that's not the problem I have with it. Because I expect a devil, a slippery snake, to do what a devil and a slippery snake will do. So that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is people who either are ignoring the pandering that's happening and no one is speaking about it because they're so hell-bent on this whole vote blue no matter who idea that they're allowing our community to continuously be exploited, and they're allowing the voices of my community, because y'all already know I don't speak for everybody. It doesn't mean that I don't love and appreciate everybody, because I absolutely do. I just don't speak for everybody, but they're allowing my community voices to be turned down, muddled, and muffled. And I have a problem with that. So I'm saying to myself, you see, YouTube is already playing with me. You see how my YouTube channel just went out and it came back in. They're already playing with me. I said to myself, why isn't anyone talking about this pandering? And why are these people, I mean, I know why they're so comfortable to continuously do it, but I'm asking myself, why are these people so freaking comfortable with allowing not only the pandering to go on, but the people who are doing the pandering, why they're so comfortable coming into our community, picking and choosing who's going to be the voice, saying whatever they need to say in order for them to get some airtime in their presence as a strategy to garner votes. Now, you all know Joe Biden don't give two flying FUCKs about Cardi B. Come on, let's just be honest. But I really want to give you guys my perspective. So let me go ahead into my perspective. These are just my thoughts that were out there, and I'm pretty sure I share some thoughts with you guys too. Somebody saying it could be a connection. It ain't my connection. I got Ethernet. I'm not even on Wi-Fi. I put the Ethernet on purpose, but when my screen goes in and out, if you're on this side of the screen, for the person that said it could be your connection, if you're on this side of the screen and you're used to being blocked and getting email notifications, you know what's up. But you can go ahead with all of that. Thank you for you're concerned about my internet connection. But nonetheless, here's the thing about the pandering. When you listen to the interview, the only thing Joe Biden is doing is expressing views, and he's avoiding conversation that should be had. He's just expressing views, like mirroring whatever Cardi B is saying. Right. Just mirroring everything to make it seem like he understands her, he gets her voice and her perspective, and he's going to change it. But no, he wasn't. He just wanted the airtime. He just wanted to be on the camera with Cardi B, because right now, Cardi B has a lot of talk going on because of her album. You got to understand the strategy and how these things happen. So that's the only reason why he's sitting in front of her. No way. It don't matter, because right now she's popping on the charts. But he wasn't really hearing what she has to say. And Cardi B don't speak for me no how. And she don't speak for many of us that's in the community that I belong on. I'm not just talking about the Black community, because y'all know I don't like the phrase Black. And y'all already know that everybody can come on and everybody can identify themselves as Black whenever it's convenient. And then when shit go down, everybody who's so-called Black starts to rep their nation, starts to rep their tribe, starts to rep their ethnicity. So they really do abandon us. And we're going to talk about that today in this video. They really do abandon us. But you know what I mean. He comes out and he's trying to draw support from the population of people, which are the young adults, 18 to 24, 26 years old. He's trying to draw support from them. So he's not even really listening to what she has to say. Go ahead and hear the interview for yourself. The minute she says something, his comeback is, well, you know, the young people really got to get out there and vote. You know, I mean, it was bad in the 2016 election because the young people didn't show up to vote. So I'm hearing him say this over and over and over again, and he really isn't engaging in dialogue with her about the topics that she's bringing up. Although she's not talking what I want to hear, but I'm not going to fault her because she don't know no better. And that's exactly why he went to go speak to her, because she doesn't know any better. Right? So I'm hearing him say this over and over again. I'm like saying, I hope, because I know the community that I belong to. I know the ADOS, FBA, B1 family. I know we're hearing it. I know we're hearing it clear as day. But everybody else, I don't know if they're hearing it. And no offense to everybody else. I'm just saying I don't know if they're hearing it. But as I'm hearing him talk about the young generation, he's simply on there to say why he's there. He's not caring about anything she's talking about. Then he comes out and says, "Oh, you know what I'm going to do is free college for everybody who makes under $125,000. Their children go to college for free." And she's like, "You really going to do that? You really going to make this happen?" Oh yeah, if I'm the president, whatever. He doesn't care about that population of people. He does not care about that population of people. He does not care that young people are being murdered on the street. He does not care about the mistreatment. He does not care about the amount of poverty that has existed among young people. He does not care about the number of homelessness that has existed among. He does not care about social issues. He did not address any of them. And the only thing he wanted to focus on was the fact that young people ages 18 to about 26 years old have not come out to vote. And this is a population of people that absolutely must get out to vote. See, what he's trying to do is to get more votes to help him in his election. That's what he's trying to do. And I'm going to help you guys put some perspective on this. See, his strategy keeps failing. His strategy continues to fail. He went on a Breakfast Club and that strategy failed because he came out of his mouth, he said some dumb stuff, and it went off the wrong direction. So he's here, and he chose Cardi B, in my opinion, because he was not expecting, nor did he get any intelligent pushback. He was not expecting any intellectual critical discourse, and he didn't get it. He wasn't expecting it and didn't get it. So there was nobody at that level of intelligence that was going to slip him up. Because I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Joe the bigot Biden is one heartbeat away from calling us niggas and it being captured. He's one heartbeat away from it. So he's got to stay away from anybody who's going to challenge him intellectually. He's got to stay away from anybody who's going to call him out on his bullshit. He's got to stay away from anybody that's going to make him angry and get him talking out of pocket. Whether in private if somebody's recording it or he slips up on air. He has to stay away from anybody that's going to get him in that position where his emotions get the best of him. See, there's no emotion sitting down talking to Cardi B. Not for nothing. I'm not being funny. He doesn't look at her as an intellect. There's nothing about her that threatens him. So she was safe. And that is a form of pandering. When you go and you express the views and you share sentiments with the population of people that you're looking to get something out of them, even though it's not your personal views, it's not your personal sentiments. The only thing you're doing is parroting what they are saying. You're just reflecting back their thoughts and their words for the purpose of getting them to give you what you want. And in this case, votes. Votes. Now, you know why I know that is the case? Because Joe the bigot Biden is a demagogue. He's a rabble rouser. You know what I mean? He's a demagogue, aka rabble rouser. That is exactly what he is. You have to understand that he is exploiting the emotions of the younger people, getting them to listen to him because he's talking to Cardi B. He knew for a fact that that was going to impact them emotionally. He knew for a fact he would have an opportunity to exploit this population of people emotionally. There was no intelligent conversation. There was no critical discourse. It was easy. It was low hanging fruit. Thank you for that donation, Raymond. Raymond is saying the white supremacy construct uses what they know works, which is in any celebrity, i.e., music, acting, or sports, is what gets our attention because we have been conditioned to respond as such. Absolutely. He knows exactly what he was doing. He knew that putting a face that resonates with a particular population of people was going to make them feel some kind of good emotions to have them tune in so that he can make his statement to that population of people. See, he had to wheel them in. And what better way of wielding them in but to use a celebrity that they identify with emotionally so that he can just keep on saying the same goddamn thing that the young people didn't show up to vote. We have to get the young people to the polls. They have to vote. If you want free college education, you got to get out there and vote. Don't do what you did in the 2016 election. You got to come to vote. You got to understand, people, when you say something long enough and you repeat it over and over and over again, it starts to resonate and take root within the subconscious of the mind. So here it is. What's up, Earl? How you doing? Tell your son he owes me a message. Earl Harwell, your son owes me a message. So let him know to follow up with me on Instagram. But nonetheless, he knows that when you get somebody to respond emotionally, the intelligence goes out the window. The intellect is gone. The ability to think is diminished. The critical thought and analysis is gone. And anybody who's in marketing knows that this is marketing one-on-one. You want to remove the intellect? Spark the emotion. Spark the emotion. Just seeing Cardi B talking to a political figure, one who is running for presidency, will automatically cause an emotional reaction from a specific group of people. The people he was targeting, the low-hanging fruit, the young adults. He's exploiting their ignorance. And when I use the word ignorance before people get in their bag, because I understand I got some young adults who listen to me, but this is about us increasing our intellect and our critical thought process. When I use the word ignorance, we all have a form of ignorance. What you don't know, you just don't know. And that is what renders us ignorant. Ignorant is not an insult. It's not like I didn't call you an ignoramus. I didn't call you an ignorant mother freaker. I didn't say anything like that. But ignorance is ignorance. It's when you don't know. So what better way than to exploit the ignorance of young people, because most of them are not politically attuned. Most of them are not politically intelligent. They don't understand politics. They just been conditioned in this country. When you get 18, you got the right to vote. And if you want your freedom, if you want democracy, vote. That's all they're conditioned to do. That's it. They're not conditioned to think critically when it comes to voting. They're not conditioned to think critically when it comes to politics. They're not conditioned to question. They're not conditioned to know how to interview. They're not conditioned to listen for understanding and then to formulate new thought. So you know how I know that this is the case? Because Joe the bigot Biden is not interested in listening to anybody who's a seasoned intellect. So I asked myself a question. I'm pretty sure you asked yourself the question too. I asked myself the question, why hasn't he sat down with, let's say, Yvette Carnell? Why hasn't he sat down with Tone, Antonio Moore? Why hasn't he sat down with any of those people? See, I know why some other people he's not going to sit down with them, right? Because maybe they're considered radical. Maybe they're considered troublemakers. Maybe they're considered, I don't know, black extremists. All these other titles that they give us when we don't agree with them and we push back. All these other titles that we give. But if you listen to, let's just say, and I'm not picking out on favors or anything like that. I'm just being objective in my thoughts. When you listen to their shows, they provide data, they provide resources, citations, they bring receipts, evidence. They are void of swear words, cursing. They don't try to bully and demean. They're just critical in their discussion, and they critique people based on critical thought and critical thought analysis. That's all that they do. So why not have a conversation with somebody like them? Why not do a Zoom interview with someone like them? Why not? He's not interested in any seasoned intellects. He's not interested in speaking with Dr. Darity, Dr. William Darity, nor his wife. He's not interested in speaking to anyone like that. He's not going to have that conversation because Joe himself will lose it. He's going to mess up. He's going to do what he does best, and that is deflect and skate around the topic. You got to understand that this man, if you listen to a lot that he talks about, he ignores critical discussion. He doesn't want to have critical conversation. And instead, what he does is he walks in with a cloak of illusions, talking about absolutely nothing. So what better way to get on there and let Cardi B interview him? This man knows exactly what he's doing. And it's unfortunate that many people in our community don't seem to understand that this man is skilled in flattery, right? He's skilled in that. But he's also evasive in discussing vital issues. He likes to joke around and come off as though he's cool, or what some of you guys were calling him. Let's just talk the truth. What was some of you guys calling him when President Obama was in the chair? What was you call Uncle Biden, Uncle Joe, some crazy nonsense like that? See, this is what we do as Black people. And I'm using that word Black intentionally, right? Because those of us that wasn't beat for it, we wasn't calling him Uncle Joe. But those of us that like Black as a flat term, or all-inclusive term, they were calling him Uncle Joe. And the only thing Uncle Joe did was smile and have some jive turkey conversations. And that was okay. Right? He's a slippery snake. He's a slippery snake. And he chose Cardi B because he knew that she wouldn't get it. She was not going to challenge. You see, her lack of challenging him was no surprise. Not for me, not for him, not for his political team. Right? Because he understands he just needed to get in front of a certain population so he could use his flattery tactics to become appealing so he can garner low-hanging fruit. So I asked myself the question. If Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion both did WAP, why was Cardi B selected? And this is just a thought. This is just a critical thought. I'm not saying that this is the case. I'm just thinking out loud. I welcome you guys to think with me. I'm just thinking out loud. If he wanted to appeal to that population of people, the low hanging fruit, and I'm going to explain that term, what I mean, why didn't he go for Megan Thee Stallion to interview him? Now, listen here. This is not me saying I like Megan Thee Stallion and not Cardi B. This is not me saying Cardi B is this and Megan Thee Stallion is that. There's no comparison. I'm just asking a critical thought question. Why not Megan Thee Stallion? See, if you even do a cursory on the surface poll of Megan Thee Stallion to understand her background, research her a little bit, just cursory. It doesn't have to be anything deep. You will find out that she's educated, and believe it or not, she's intelligent. Believe it or not, she's educated and she's intelligent. She knows how to put her words together effectively. See, I sat back and I started to think about Megan Thee Stallion's upbringing and how her mother, who acted as her manager as well, I think her mother died last year in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, from cancer, brain tumor, or something like that. But her mother was the one who told her, before you get into the game, you got to finish high school. This is a woman that not only finished high school, but she registered into college. And when she took a little break from college and once she got her rap career situated, she went back to college, if I'm not mistaken, Texas University or some crap like that, right? And if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. You guys got to let me know. If I'm not mistaken, she graduated. I could be wrong. But even if she didn't graduate yet, it's my understanding she went back to college to finish her degree because she had promised her mother that not only was she going to get a degree, but she was going to use that degree so that she can open up an assisted living program in Texas. So that's somebody that has a certain level of intelligence. That's somebody who has a certain level of understanding of how this system works. This is somebody who understands the disadvantage of certain populations, ADOS, FB1, FBA, B1, understands the struggle and the disadvantages that we have. She's an intelligent person. Maybe some people thank you for that donation, sis. Sid is saying she was born in Texas and finishing her bachelor's degree at Texas Southern University. My parents' alma mater. Okay, there you go. But I know that she was finishing school, and I know that she said that she was promising so that she can do it because her promise to her mother was to open an assisted living facility. That's my understanding. So somebody who has that kind of thought process understands how to think. Now, poor Cardi B. She's not a thought leader. She's not a thought leader. And when we get to this position in life, when we're calling on Cardi B to be the voice of a people for a matter as serious as this, then it becomes the dumb leading the blind. And that is totally unacceptable. You see, I understand that Biden has a lust for power. Y'all hear me clearly. And that's evidenced by his track record in Delaware. When he went on to bigger and better things, he left a lot of people in Delaware hanging. And so he has this history of vying for the low-hanging fruit. This is something y'all probably want to write down. The low-hanging fruit. Because he doesn't want to do the work. This is why people go for low-hanging fruit. It doesn't require a lot of work. It's easily attained. You can get it easy without a lot of effort, without spending a lot of money, without a lot of campaigning, without a lot of having meeting after meeting and interviewing with these people. thought, challenging his thoughts, questioning his track record. Low-hanging fruit is not going to do all of that. Right? He was going for short-term results. The short-term results is, let me show up with a popular person that the young adult population is attracted to. Let me get their votes, right? Without doing a lot of work. They're not going to ask me anything in return. They're not going to challenge me on my history or any of the bills that I have passed that has been harmful to a certain community. They're not going to challenge me on that. They're not going to be like Charlemagne the God to ask some questions that's going to trip me up and try to have me use my flattery just to get people to jump on the bandwagon with me. That didn't work. He doesn't have to worry about any of that. So he went after the low-hanging fruit, short-term results. I'm going to show up. I'm going to get votes. T. James, thank you for that donation. He's saying, I agree. It's not the time for WAP entertainment, but I agree. Meg should have been interviewed by Biden, not Cardi B. Meg went to college. Absolutely. He is not going to go for her. Because there's one thing that I know for certain, and I'm sure that many of you guys, if not all of you guys, will understand where I'm coming from and agree. I don't care if you agree or disagree, but just at least understand where I'm coming from. College, depending on your major, will teach you how to think and create new thoughts. That's what it does. Not only does it show that you're committed, you can do what you need to do to graduate, but when you have to formulate papers and you have to cite things and you have to read, and you have to do research, and then you have to formulate new research questions or new thoughts or challenge a different thing or create a hypothesis, all of this stuff requires you to think. So if you sit down in front of somebody who's college educated, especially if they have a social science degree, and I'm not picking on one degree over another because science degrees are important too, but you get what I'm saying, right? Especially when you have those kind of degrees, communication degrees, sociology degrees, psychology degrees, it teaches us to sit back, think about what you're saying, listen, and then formulate new thoughts by deepening the discussion. That's what we're designed to do. He's not going to sit down with anybody like her. He's not going to sit down with the Yvette Carnell. He's not going to go on Tone Talks. In fact, he's not going to sit down with a Boyce Watkins and have an intellectual conversation. He's not going to do it. He's not going to sit down with a William Darity. He's not going to sit down with a Michelle Alexander. He's not going to sit down with intelligent people. He's not. Because that would be high-hanging fruit. The strategy is go for the low-hanging fruit. Why? Let me tell you about the low-hanging fruit. First of all, we already know it's visible. Think about an orchard. Think about an apple tree. It's easy for you to see the fruit that's right in front of you and just grab it and keep it moving, right? Than to have to look up to locate the fruit up in the trees, to get a ladder to get your ass up in the trees to get the fruit. That's a lot of damn work. Thank you so much for that donation, Darnell Barron. I appreciate that. That's a lot of work. But when you see fruit right in front of you, that's easy to attain, you're going to go for it. But here's what we know about low-hanging fruit. You ask any farmer, I know the apple tree game has since changed, right? They started making trees dwarf to make it a little bit easier to get to all the apples, right, in a faster amount of time, as opposed to growing big orchards of apple trees. But nonetheless, what I'm saying to you, think about where the phrase came from, low-hanging fruit. First of all, if you know anything about low-hanging fruit, it's bad quality. Do you know why low-hanging fruit, listen to the analogy, people, why it's bad quality? Because it's not high up where the sun is reaching it first, causing it to ripen faster. When the low-hanging fruit is at the bottom, it's not as ripe as the fruit at the top. It's not as tasty, delectable as the fruit at the top. It's the bad fruit. It's wasted material. And that's the same idea about going after low-hanging fruit. It doesn't require critical discourse. Cardi B was low-hanging fruit. Not a lot of work. Not a lot of work. Ask any farmer, ask any apple farmer about low-hanging fruit. They're going to tell you to avoid low-hanging fruit. You know why they tell you to avoid the low-hanging fruit, going after that fruit first? Forget about the sun not ripening it. But see, when you are a farmer and you have to pick apples, you're told to put your sack around your head and your shoulders, climb up on the ladder, go for the high-hanging fruit first because it's the better quality, right? But you go for that fruit first because if you pick from the lower hanging fruit first and put it in your sack, by the time you get to the higher fruit, your bag is already heavy. And you have a whole bunch of wasted material in your bag, making it difficult for you to climb the ladder to get more fruit to bring it down. So don't even waste your time at the bottom because we know the quality is at the top. But the quality at the top requires a lot more work. When you go to speak to intelligent people at the top of the apple tree, it's going to require more work. You're going to have to be prepared for what to say. You're going to have to listen to what they have to say in order for you to engage in critical discourse. That means you better do your research. That means you have to know the population of people in which you're speaking to. That means you got to know beforehand as a strategy the question they're possibly going to ask you. So instead of doing all that goddamn work to sit down, to do research, to challenge yourself intellectually, to challenge yourself critically, you're just going to go after what's easily accessible without a lot of work. Right? You're not going to want to waste your time. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I can't get over the fact that this man is pandering our community and we're constantly ignoring it. I understand why it's happening, but why are we ignoring it? See, we got to understand that when they target celebrities, it's because they are choosing who they're going to identify as our leaders based on popularity, because they're well known, not because they are of quality. So when you put these celebrities in front of us based on their popularity, many of us are so conditioned to just go about and do whatever they tell us to do. Sheeple. And for some reason, they always set up the stage to make it seem like these celebrities that they're targeting and using are the voice for the disenfranchised. I'm sorry, but they're not the voice for the disenfranchised, because the reality is, if the disenfranchised will engage in critical discourse and critical thought, then the disenfranchised will understand and know that many of these celebrities cannot relate to them. Because once they get at a certain level, their lifestyle changes altogether. They forget who they are and where they come from. Many of them. I'm not saying all of them, usually ones that don't do that, usually not all of them, but they're easily forgotten. Right? So we have to learn to put a stop to this pandering. We have to understand how to stop this from happening. So I'm going to read two things to you guys real quick, and then I'm gonna get out of here. But the first thing I want us to start to get our minds wrapped around is asking ourselves, what happened? What happened to our print media? What happened to our magazines, our newspapers? I know people are going to say, oh, well, no one's reading newspapers anymore, but we can have it digitally. What happened? Why is it that is not existent anymore for us? See, the reason I'm asking this question, because I started to feel bad for the Cardi B's of the world, right? Who's just regurgitating stuff that they hear. Black Lives Matter organization. Y'all already know how I feel about that goddamn organization. Right? Not the message, not Black Lives, right? Not Black Lives, but the organization in and of itself. Y'all already know how I feel. But the point is, a lot of these younger people are just regurgitating what they're hearing in media. So I said to myself, we are at war. And we all, I hope we all know about the art of war. But if not, I'm going to read something to you guys on the art of war. But we are at war. And we have been disarmed. We have been weakened. Our forces have been subjugated. They have been infiltrated. They have spies among us that claim to be us. And they're bringing us down from the inside out. This is what's happening. Whatever happened to our propaganda? Whatever happened to our avenues or our vehicles to properly educate young people? Thank you for that donation, Mark. Mark is saying, if we as Black people can't see that this fake, you know what, is disrespecting us by talking to someone like Cardi B about our issues, then we are seriously in trouble as a people. Absolutely. Thank you for that donation, Sid. He said there are Black newspapers, but most of them are boule controlled. See, we're not talking about that, though. We're talking about having, and when I say "are," I'm not, see, there you, the term, Sid, you already know me, Sid. The term Black, you know I don't like that term, right? Because it flattens us. So when you say there are Black newspaper, who's the Black? What are we saying when we say Black? And we have to keep having this kind of conversation over and over and over again. Who are we talking about when we say Black? We got to get that language very clear. What I'm saying to those of us who are on the same page, because you know my message isn't for everybody. I make that clear all the time. Just like Joe Biden has his target population, I got mine. And anybody who has a platform, they have theirs. We all have target populations. We all understand how it works. We all understand how marketing works. We all understand how messaging works. We understand it. We understand the psychology behind it. Right? We understand it. But what I'm saying to is for those of us, when we know that where we're losing, in my opinion, I feel that I don't think we're losing. I think we're gaining footage little by little. But where we keep slipping, that's what I would say. Where we keep slipping is because we don't have a consistent source of information to educate our younger people. We need a consistent source of information to educate our people. They have to understand politics made simple. They have to understand the tactics and strategies of politics that we have to watch out for. Shout out to Nicholas Price. Thank you so much for that donation. Says, I'm a first-time listener. So far, I like what I hear. Deaf don't come across many Black female thinkers out here. Keep pushing, sis. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. We got to be able to do it in such a way that they understand it. They have to understand what pandering means. They have to understand what gerrymandering means. They have to understand the strategics or strategies of tactical voting. They have to understand why celebrities are targeted. They have to understand how quid pro quo works. They have to understand all these terms. Who's teaching our young people that? Who's provided them political education? Who's provided them economic education? Who's provided them workshops, seminars, courses on critical thoughts and critical discussions? How many of our children are on debate teams? How many of them know how to formulate an argument? We got work to do. We got work to do. Thank you for that donation, Nia. Nia saying, when I say Black, I'm saying American descendants of sharecroppers, indigenous Black and brown people that can identify at least 4 generations here. But thank you for that. Right? Thank you for that, Nia. Thank you for identifying what you mean when you say Black. Absolutely. And when I say Black, I'm talking about American descendants of enslaved Africans. Who were subjected to chattel slavery. When I talk about them, I'm also talking about their descendants who went through Jim Crow and segregation. I'm talking about the descendants, such as myself, of my mother, born during segregation and Jim Crow, and how the impact of the Reconstruction era, right? How the impact of segregation, how the impact of the rise of the KKK, how the impact of Jim Crow negatively affected my mother, my grandmother, and me. That's what I'm talking about, right? Thank you for that donation, Jamie. He says learning the verbiage and employing critical thinking is super essential. Absolutely. We got to really talk about that. We gotta make sure that we can reach our young people so that we won't have any more Cardi B's of the world that get in front of Joe the Bigot Biden and can't formulate an intelligent thought, sentence, or engage in critical discourse. See, it's not age alone. It's not age alone. Her and Megan Thee Stallion are about the same age. Close to it, if not the same. I think that conversation went a little bit different if he was in front of Megan Thee Stallion. And I'm not saying I'm promoting that. I'm saying I think the conversation would have went a little bit differently. That's all I'm saying. Right? You got to understand that if we're not educating our children, we are at a disadvantage. I want to draw you guys' attention to The Art of War, right? Y'all know The Art of War? If y'all don't have a library, I suggest you start buying the books to read and educate yourself so you can stop depending on people to come in our community and exploit us and take advantage of us. Let me say this. On page 19 in The Art of War, when it talks about planning attacks and it talks about the strategies behind planning attacks, rule number 15 says, hence the saying, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you don't got to fear losing the war. You don't got to fear your enemy coming up against you because you already studied your enemy. You already dissect their thinking. You already analyze their behavior. You already put pins on the board to guesstimate, estimate their attacks. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know yourself and not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will suffer a defeat. We are in a generation right now where there are a lot of people that proclaim to know themselves, but yet they still trust the enemy. They proclaim to have knowledge of their background, their history, their lineage. They're proud. They can tell you all that their grandparents and their great grandparents and their great great grandparents have gone through. They claim to have footing and understanding who they are, but they keep shaking hands with the enemy. They keep getting in bed with the enemy. They keep making deals with the enemy, and they wonder why. They wonder why we still fighting the same sorry ass battle. They wonder why at every time we move forward, we suffer another defeat. They wonder why we fight, and as soon as we get a victory, somebody comes in and snatches it from us. They wonder why we're still losing. It also says, if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. When you put people who are not informed politically, when you put people who don't understand tactical voting, who don't understand strategic voting, when you put people who do not understand their ancestors fight, when they don't understand their ancestors' strategies, when they don't understand what they are up against, when you put people like that in front of a known enemy, a sly snake, a dirty little devil, when you put people in front of that, we're going to lose every time. But here's the thing. With all due respect, Cardi B is not ADOS. Cardi B is not FBA. Cardi B don't know nothing about our goddamn lineage in this country. And when you cloak it in illusions such as black, it makes it seem like she's a voice for all of us. No, she's not. She's a voice to a certain type of population of people that are uninformed for the most part and who are not going to engage in critical thought discussion for the most part. She's the voice for those people. She's not a voice for me, and I'm sure she's not a voice for many of you guys. So let me wrap up this show. I'm going to read to you guys from here now. Dr. Amos N. Wilson. If you don't have his book, it's called African-Centered Consciousness versus the New World Order. If you don't have this book, I suggest you get this book. I want to draw your attention to page 123. This is important here because I want you guys to understand it. Listen, 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 listen. Listen to understand, not to respond. Listen to understand, not to get into a debate. Just listen. Allow me to finish the whole goddamn thing. Before those of you guys who are just oppositional, just to be oppositional, allow me to finish for just a second. Because I think that many of us who's in this lineage, who understands what I'm talking about when I talk about black. I already defined what I'm talking about. I think those of us will understand what he is saying. Now, you know, the people that he's speaking about is not going to hear this message. And they're going to get in their bag and they're going to get in their feelings and they're going to feel some kind of way. And that is okay. We got to stop emotionally reacting to people who don't like to hear us stand up for ourselves. We have to stop emotionally reacting to the spies within our community who share our skin color, but they never in their life represented us until we started to make a lot of noise and they want to jump on a bandwagon. Let's just talk about the truth, people. Let's just talk about the truth, people. We got to stop being moved and bothered by those who try to gaslight us into believing that we are divisive. So if you don't want to hear it from me, hear it from Dr. Wilson, right? Shout out to Enlightened Kid. He said discussion early with frat bros came down to our community having to teach others about our plight. Why must we keep explaining how our situations are biased, but everyone knows the plight of the Jews? You ain't got to keep explaining it. We're not going to keep on explaining it. We know what we're doing. If we keep on explaining it to other people, then we're losing the battle. See, I just read from The Art of War, the strategies to know yourself and know the enemy. And then you ain't got to worry about the battle. See, the problem is we have failed to identify the enemies. We have failed to identify it. We don't even like the word the enemy. Many of us have made up the enemy just to be the devil. I'm telling you, the devil made me do it. No, the white supremacy made you do it. The devil ain't make you do nothing. I'm telling you, we would like to move away from the truth. We don't want to have real conversation. We like fluffy fairy tales. The same people that celebrate Christmas, the same people that put money under their kids' pillow saying it's from a tooth fairy, the same people that celebrate Easter by hiding eggs. These are the same goddamn people we're engaging in arguments with. Why? 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 See, when you know yourself and you know your enemy, you don't engage in foolishness. So let me read from this page right here. He said, prescriptions for the African American nation. If we look at ourselves, the African American nation, those of us that I have identified that I'm speaking of, that's who he is speaking of, because you gotta look at everything within context. The period of time that he is speaking to, everything has to go within context. So it says, if we look at ourselves as a nation, then the African American nation must do what all other nations do. We must capture our own internal resources. We must capture our own internal markets. We must trade within ourselves as a people and as a group and generate wealth within our nation as a means of counterbalancing our dependence on Europeans and upon the white nation itself. In order to do this, we must have a nation consciousness. We must now organize and relate it to ourselves as a nation of people. Let me finish. He says, if we look at our relationship to Koreans, to Dominicans, to other groups, we will see the same relationship where those groups have entered into the African American nation, set up shop, and shipped out its wealth day by day, night by night. Yet the African American entrepreneurial nation is not permitted to set up shop in their midst, is not permitted to carry wealth from their nations. They then grow fat on the surplus they gain from the African American nation. This means then that we think of ourselves as a nation, we must protect our eternal markets from the intrusions of outsiders. We must not permit them to entry into our nation, talking about our African American nation, our ADOS nation. We must not permit them entry into our nation. As I look down 125th Street, that's in Harlem, y'all, and see our people locked on the outside, I agree with our vendors that if Black men and Black women, we're talking about ADOS, cannot make a living on that street, then no other people should be permitted to make a living on that street. We are not obligated in any kind of way to feed the children of other people before we feed our own. But it's only if you think in terms of nationhood that you can resolve this kind of problem. We have tremendous possibilities as a Black nation. He's talking about ADOS, not this new Black. So if you don't know what he's talking about, when he refers to 125th Street, many of you guys know because I did a video on this before, and if I gotta do it again, by golly, I would. Immigrants and veterans, for the most part, get vending licenses to vend on the streets of New York City. Immigrants and veterans, immigrants and veterans, immigrants and veterans. So if you have a product or a service, and you would like to market by vending, and if you don't hold one of those statuses, you ain't getting no goddamn vendor ID. You are not getting a vendor ID. So what he's saying is, if we're not permitted to sell on those streets, no other nation should be permitted to sell. You could walk all up and down 125th Street and ain't nobody ADOS. And the brother or the sister who is ADOS, if the cops decide to roll up on them and ask them for a permit and they don't got it, their stuff get bagged up. Think I'm lying? Let's finish, then I'm out of here. I'm right on time, y'all. I'm not staying late tonight. So Dr. Amos Wilson goes on to say, we've got the markets, meaning African Americans, ADOS, we got the markets, but we are not taking advantage of it. We have gotten ourselves into a situation where we are locked out of other people's markets, and we permit them into our own, such that we are locked out of our own markets. What is he saying? So you go into any ADOS community and you see everybody else, for the most part, with their stores in your community. Whether they're Asian stores, whether they are Hispanic stores, whether they are Arab stores, whether they are Indian stores, whether they are white stores. In comparison to Black stores, you see many of them. And they're in our community. But what he's saying is, these nations know themselves and they know the enemy. Anybody who can take money out their community is considered the enemy. Let me say that again. Anybody who can take money out of your community and does not invest in your community whatsoever is the enemy. See, you got to first know how to identify the enemy. We too busy looking at just the white man as the enemy. We always want to see the white man as the enemy. The white man is the enemy. The enemy is the white man. The enemy is the devil. The devil is the white man. Anybody who takes from your community, anybody who takes from your community and does not employ you in your community is the enemy. You cannot go into their communities and open up shops because your store most likely will not make it. You cannot go into their community and sell to their children and their grandparents and their friends and their neighbors who look like them and not like you, and take money out of their community to bring it back into your community or into your home to send your children to quality schools, to send your children to quality colleges. You cannot do that. Maybe one of you guys might be able to get away with it, but a damn sure ain't going to be a lot of you guys. You cannot do that. See, whether you like what I'm saying or not, I don't care. Go through any of their communities and see. Don't get in your bag because you don't like what I'm saying. Go through any of their communities and see how many stores are ADOS. I'm an ADOS business owner, so you can't say we don't own businesses, because almost all my friends, not all of them, but almost all my friends and my acquaintances, we all own our own businesses. So you can't say we don't exist. We exist. But guess what? We have to own our businesses in our own shop. Imagine me walking into a white community, a Jewish community, an Asian community, and offering them psychotherapy services. I become their mental health counselor. I become their marriage counselor, their couples therapist. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine them entrusting me with their mental health. Imagine them entrusting me to deepen their thoughts, to massage their mind. Imagine that. Now, do I have people who are Indian? Do I have people who are Hispanic? Do I have people who are white? Typically, the ones who are white are usually married to somebody who's black, but yeah. Do I have them? Yeah. Do they represent a large population of my population? No. They're like maybe 2%. They're like 2%. 98% is my population of people. That's just how it goes. That's how it goes. So let's go on to finish what he says. He said, then we wonder why we suffer the way we do. It is not because we are poor. If we were that poor or impoverished, then why did those people come to us to earn their living and to earn their wealth? It means then we must be a wealthy people. We have as people everything that we need to make a nation. He was talking about ADOS way before it even formed. Way before it even formed. We have telephones, fax machines, computers, highways, bridges, railways, airways, waterways, trucks, everything that many nations in the world desire. In fact, the vast majority of nations and wish they had available to them what the African American community has available to it. They wish they had the highways. They wish they had the trucks. They wish they had the trains, the ships, the computers, the telephones, and the equipment that you can just pick up and dial right away and don't have to be routed through France or somewhere else. They wish the electric lights didn't go off sporadically every day. They beg for consistency. We got it all right here in America. Why then are we not better off? That's all I had. Somebody asked me what book this was. That was African-Centered Consciousness versus the New World Order, Garveyism and the Age of Globalism by Dr. Amos Wilson. Thank you for that donation. Mileston, he says, never seen one of us working in their establishment. Oh, no, absolutely not. So I end this by saying we got to stop being moved by the pandering that is happening within the political democratic parties. We got to stop being moved by it. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't give a flying F-U-C-K who is in the chair. Give me what we are asking for. Give me reparations, restitution. Give me land. Give me access. Give me what we are asking for. Sit down and have a conversation with us. Let's engage in quid pro quo. You're not going to get something for nothing. That has got to stop. We have to stop allowing people to come into our nation to get from us what they want without giving us anything in return. We have to stop it. We have to stop it from the political realm. We have to stop it from the marketplace. We have to stop it from other nations. Everybody comes to take from us and gives us not a goddamn thing back in return. We absolutely have to stop it. And the way it's going to stop is when we recognize ourselves as a nation. The way it's going to stop is when we start calling people out on their bullshit. The way it's going to stop is when we say no more and we exercise that not only in our words, but through our behaviors. That is how it's going to stop. Until we wake up and make a decision to operate as a nation within a nation and get the rights that are due to us and our nation alone, then we will stop every other nation from coming into our communities and exploiting us and giving us nothing in return but a kick in our goddamn backs or a phone call to the police that later arrest us and put their goddamn knees on our necks and kill us dead. We won't rise up until we get this through our heads that our enemies can look like us as well. We will not rise up until we understand that our enemies cloak themselves in the illusion of blackness, and they find it convenient to rub shoulders with us when they want to use our power, when they want to use our fearlessness, when they want to use our voice, when they want to use our strength, because we do not fear the same enemy that they fear. We do not try to be like their enemy. We are okay with being different. Thank you so much for that donation, Geek Moms. And I'll see you on Saturday for our relationship class, right? The Geek Moms will tell you we make it happen in that class. We make it happen every Saturday at 10 o'clock. You can go ahead and visit theiriswomen.com, ladies only. You can go ahead and visit theiriswomen.com if you want to join that class, because we're about nation building. We're about changing our behaviors. We're about strategy and tactics. So I'll see you guys all on Saturday, right? But we have to understand that until we make a conscious decision to stop allowing people to exploit us, to stop allowing people to use our muscle power, to stop allowing people to jump on our bandwagon. I don't care if it's the Karens and Kens of the world. I don't care if it's the Caribbeans of the world. I don't care if it's the Africans of the world. I don't care. I love every last one of them. But when we are in a fight, when we are in a war, I cannot bring everybody with me, making my load heavier. I cannot do it. And guess what? Guess what? They don't look to help us one bit. Now, there are some that are allies, and that is okay. We welcome you. We're welcoming you. But you can go through any of their communities and you will see how they will treat you. One of you guys might be fine. So y'all think because they let you come in and they smile in your face because you're one person and they build a relationship with one person, we start to think in our head that applies to all of us. That don't apply to all of us. Let a group of 5 to 10 people walk in their establishment. You'll see exactly how they're treated. And I don't care. I'm telling you the truth. I grew up in the streets of New York City. I'm a Bronx girl. New York City, one of the most diverse areas. And you have no idea of some of the nasty anti-Black talk that comes out of some communities that look like me. The discrimination, the mistreatment, the disrespect, the insults, telling their children, don't marry a Black person. When they say Black, they're referring to African American. You know how many people that look like me, that is not of my lineage, have communicated that their parents were not happy that they married an ADOS person? Y'all better know the enemy. Y'all better know the enemy. Now, I want to make it clear. I'm not saying that they're all our enemies. I'm understanding that we are in war. And when you are in war, you got to move a certain way. And you got to see the enemy for who the enemy is. You got to see truth for what truth is. I'll tell you and I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you and I'll tell you the truth. We got to stop lying to ourselves and we got to stop lying to each other. The truth is the truth. Especially if you are an African American ADOS male and you marry into one of their families and they look like you, they'll tell you in a minute that they are not of you, their family. They got a different culture. Think I don't know? Etienne is not my maiden name, it's my married name. Etienne's a Haitian name that I received for marriage. You think I don't know that the preference was a Haitian? You don't think I know this? You think I don't know? I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know anytime I move through a Dominican culture and they get fucked up when they say slick shit in Spanish and I address them. Could look just like me. And the assumption is she's a black girl. But you don't think black people know Spanish if they grew up in your culture? I grew up in a Dominican culture. Told you I grew up in the streets of New York City. I grew up in a Dominican culture, learning their language. I can move in and out of their community. You don't think they know? You don't know what I hear. Do you know what I hear coming from Hispanics that look like me? Do you know what the fuck I hear in their language? Oh, no. That's not what I was saying. No, you're getting checked. Got me fucked up. So y'all want to act like this stuff doesn't exist? Go ahead and live in your la la land. Know the enemy. Know the art of war. Understand that everyone comes into our community and exploits us, whether they're pandering from votes from our community and do nothing in return. We keep allowing everybody to enter into our community, the politicians. We allow other nations to enter into our community and nobody gives a shit in return. We have to start learning how to negotiate. We have to start understanding the art of war, and we have to be strategic in our tactics and our tactical responses. We have to understand that this is no longer our children, and our children's children cannot afford it. This has to stop right now. We can no longer afford it as a nation of people. Shout out for that donation, Jamie. Jamie says, as a Honduran, I know exactly what you are talking about. Story of my life. Come on now. Come on now. Y'all know, I mean, people that have been with me for so long know I go into Caribbean nations every year. Every year. I travel in every year and I collect data every year. And when they see me, oh, what are you? What they always want to know? Oh, what are you Dominican? Oh, they always want to know what I am. Because I can move in and out of their communities. If I can move in and out their community, why do you think they can't move in and out of ours? Trust and believe. They talk shit. Thank you for that donation, Sarkio. Trust and believe they talk shit. But we the only ones that don't like to think about it. We are the only ones that want to. We always been kumbaya. We always welcoming everybody in. And as we hugging them, they stabbing us in our goddamn backs. Da! Stab you in the back. You getting locked out of everything. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not bilingual. No job for you. Can't have a job. Sorry, no job for you. You can't have a job. You don't speak Spanish. You come in, if it's you and somebody who looks like you that's not born of this country or their lineage is not in this country, they'll give them the job over you. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. This is why we have to be identified as our own nation so the data can speak for us, because everyone gets moshed in our data. Everybody gets mixed in the gumbo pot and we get lost in the sauce. And then they say, oh no, we have 35% of Black employees. Oh yeah, but when we start weeding out those Black employees and we think about their lineage, they're not us. So who the fuck are you employing? Y'all ain't ready for this. Y'all ain't ready for this. See, when you bilingual, you can move in and out. And you will hear everything they talk about. You will hear everything they talk about. And it will shock you. It will shock you. Right? Anyway, somebody said Trump with Tory. It ain't no Trump with the Tory. I don't care if Trump is in a chair or if Trump is underneath the chair. I don't care where Trump is. It's not no Trump with Tory. So you don't want to hear the truth. You don't want to hear the truth. That's why people don't like to listen to what he has to say. He's a crazy little bed bug. Ain't that bright, but he ain't stupid. See, when you say what other people experience, and when you are the people's voice, it makes the people who don't want to believe it uncomfortable. So they try to gaslight you. And y'all remember what I said? We don't argue with the enemy. We identify them. We keep it moving. We don't argue with the enemy. And everyone always want to bring Trump's name into it because it's gaslighting. That's what that is. It's gaslighting. If you know anything about our community, we can care two flying fucks about Trump. Trump don't move us neither way. Now, if he want to sit down and he want to talk what we asking, if he want to talk about reparation and restitution, we could sit down and have a conversation. Have a conversation with anybody who wants to talk about it. You ain't going to come pandering votes from us without quid pro quo. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Tangibles 2020. What are you giving us in return? It's just that simple. And I don't understand why that's so hard for some people to get it. But we don't argue with the enemies. We don't argue with the enemy. This is the new world order, and we are creating our own. No more pandering from us. No more ripping and raping our communities. No more giving a shit and passing it off as cake. No more. We're not doing that. We're not doing that in 2020. It ain't never going to happen. Quid quo pro or no vote. Period. Love you guys. That's all I have from you guys. That's right. Enough is enough. I will speak to you guys when I have something else to say. Until then, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like the video or thumbs down it. I don't care. Whatever you do, just get the algorithms going. Share the video. For my ladies, I'll see you guys on Saturday. Visit the iriswomen.com. The Iris, IRIS, women, plural, WOMEN.com, theiriswomen.com for your Saturday relationship coaching class. We have nothing but hot topics. For everyone else, if you want the lighter side of me, where I'll let you into my life, my family, give you great discussions about relationships, go ahead to my IG page. You'll find me as well, Dr. Shonna. You can go ahead and join that community if you don't want to hear all the power talks. That's a very light page. You'll see a different side of me. Go on and have fun over there. Peace and blessings, and I'll see you guys when I have something else to say. Have a great night.